너만 보면 또 하루를 보내 오늘 같은 날 산책이라도 다녀올까 But I feel so lazy Yeah I'm home alone all day And I got no more songs
For today's video, I wanted to take you guys through my weekend studying routine for Korean. Filipino is my native tongue. I obviously know how to speak English because it's the primary language used in schools in the Philippines. And for the past 8 months, I've been self-studying Korean. The thing with self-studying is you don't have anyone to keep you accountable but yourself. Obviously, there comes a point when you start to procrastinate and get lazy. The drive dwindles down because you already know the basics of the language and it's getting harder and harder for grammar points and vocabulary to stick. I think I'm at that point already. I really want to reach lower to upper intermediate by end of year and to reach that goal, I have to actually study, which I've been slacking on for the past 2 weeks, I think. In this video, I will show you the things I typically do on the weekends where I get most of my active studying done. 3 things that I do is first, study grammar. So my primary resource for this is Talk to Me in Korean. I'm on level 5 right now. I would say my output skills, so that's writing and speaking, isn't at that level yet, but that's fine. My goal for today is to go through lesson 17. I think it's a little bit long, but that's fine. And then listen to the podcast as I review the notes that I will take, and then also go through lesson 18, which isn't too bad. It's only 15 minutes. So I'll go through this and then listen to the podcast as well before we start immersion. The second thing I try to do is immersion. On weekends, I try to do passive immersion. So passive immersion for me is consuming Korean content but with English subtitles. And then I try to notice the words or sentences that they use, but that's not my primary focus. My primary focus is training my ear to hear Korean. On weekends, I try to do active immersion. The difference is, for my active immersion routine, I watch Korean content with Korean subtitles, and I try to look for sentences that I can almost understand, take those down, and then study those for later. Lastly is my regular flashcard review. I use Anki for this. I also do Anki on the weekdays, but on weekends, I really sit down and put in new cards to study and also review the cards that I've inputted in the past few weeks. Before we start studying, I wanted to show you guys my notes. So this is when I first started learning Hangul. If you see here, my handwriting was terrible. I've already finished a lot, and this notebook is from level 1 to now level 5. So if you look at my level 5 handwriting, I think it's more natural and better. It just developed over time, my natural Korean handwriting. So before I start lesson 17, I will first review the last grammar point I studied, which is lesson 16, narrative present tense, or I think other textbooks call this the plain form, so the unda, nunda. My color coding system is nothing. I don't really color code aside from the pink highlight in the headers. So what I typically do is have a first round of studying where I take down all my notes, and then I leave it there. When I review, that's when I highlight the header to remind myself that I've already reviewed this, and then after my review session, I can move on to the new lesson.
오랜만이야 10년이면 강산도 변한다던데 넌 말이야 얼마나 많이 변했을까 궁금해 기억을 잃어버린 도리에게 사랑이란 그저 fantasy I have a lazy study buddy Yuni.
Hello everyone, Hyun-woo-sun here,
Hyun-woo here.
and you are listening to
Talk to me in Korean.
You're my time machine 널 보니 그대로 돌아가게 돼 주위 둘러보네 우린 참 잘 어울렸어 거짓말 같게 내 눈이
How do you change it to to hear that something is expensive?
비싸다고 듣다.
How about to be delicious?
맛있다.
And how do you say to hear that something is delicious?
맛있다고 듣다.
So I just finished lesson 17. These are all of my notes. I write a lot. You don't typically have to if you understand, but I really like the practice of writing, and also it helps me remember. Studying the lesson and listening to the podcast took me 32 minutes. And now I'm off to studying lesson 18, and then I can proceed with immersion.
과학영화 같아 Your body moves in slow-mo 검은 머리 Your got me 헤어나올 수 없는 black hole 그 눈을 자꾸 쳐다보니까 네 속으로 계속 빠져들잖아 Baby won't you take me back in time Because you're a time machine 널 보니 그때로 돌아가게 돼 주위 둘러보네 우린 참 잘 어울렸어 거짓말 가게 내 눈이 날 throwback 우리 미래 속에 잊혀진 goback 4K로 펼쳐지는 추억의 시간여 You're my time machine girl 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 사랑은 기차 타고 멀리 떠나야 방울방울 다시 돌아와 사랑은 기차 타고 멀리 떠나야
So I already finished 2 grammar points. So I learned about quoting someone in Korean. So that's 은는다는 and 인다고. And I also learned the whether or not grammar point, which is 있는지. So I also took notes and I also listened to the podcast. So I got that out of the way.
테니스를 치거나 수영을 할 거예요. 이 테니스 콘서트. 이거 할 줄 알아요? 한국에서 만든 거예요. 한국에서 만든 거예요. 우리는 서로 사랑했기 때문에 결혼했습니다.
사랑이란 것은 목매 딸리지 않게 해줘 난 그냥 자유롭게 멀리 날아가고 싶어
내가 엿들은 건 아니고 맞으죠.
See, this particular card is something I screenshotted from Netflix because I can almost understand this sentence aside from 엿들은, which is eavesdropping. So this particular scene and this sentence will help me remember the word 엿들은. I want to be able to finish at least 1 episode of A Love So Beautiful. I'm watching A Love So Beautiful because it's a high school slice of life, which means they use relatively easy vocab and grammar, and most of it is just daily Korean, conversational Korean that I would benefit from learning. So I will play this episode, turn this on, and it will show me both Korean and English subtitles. Here, I can understand 뭐가 그렇게, and then 우래 is crying. So why are you sad? Why are you depressed? Why do you look so sad? So I semi got it right. 뭐가 그렇게 우래?
그렇게 우울해? 그러는 너도 뭐가 그렇게 우울한?
그러는 너도 뭐가 그렇게 우울한데? So what about you? You also look depressed. Yep, so I semi got it right.
뭐지? 그러면 한 사람당 5만?
그러면 한 사람당 100만 원씩은 받을 수 있잖아. So therefore each person will receive 50,000 won.
원씩을 받을 수 있잖아.
So that's basically how I actively immerse. I look through the sentences one by one. I watched the episode with Korean subtitles, tried to see if I understood each sentence, at least most of it, and tried to save the ones that I almost understood so that I can review those later because those are easier to understand for me and it will stick better when I do my reviews. I will do that for the rest of the episode and then I will wrap up and show you the stats of how I spent my time during this study session. I just finished immersing that episode. That 23-minute episode took me 15 minutes because, of course, I had to pause and look through the sentences one by one. If you see me looking this way, I'm looking at the screenshot of the tracker app that I use since I'm filming on my phone. In total, so the Anki or my flashcards took me 14 minutes. Talk to Me in Korean took me 1 hour and 8 minutes for those 2 lessons, and the active immersion bit took 15 minutes. So in total, it's about around 2 hours of studying for today. The tracker I'm using to monitor my studying is called A Tracker. It's not the most aesthetic app, but I really like the functions of it, and it's able to give deep dive of data to show how much you've been studying since you've started. How big of a percentage I spent immersing, studying grammar, and studying Anki. And it can also provide a 7-day preview of how much I've studied for the past 7 days. It can also show a month, 60 days, 3 months, also how much studying and how much time I've put into Korean since I started. That's where I'll end the video. I hope this helped motivate you to pick up that hobby that you've been putting off and putting on the back burner for quite some time now. I think it's really important to have a hobby outside of our 9-to-5 work, just to maintain our sanity, to allow us to feel that we're still doing something for ourselves and for our own enjoyment, be it taking care of plants, working out, studying a language, or knitting, doing embroidery, art, etc. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching!
그날 밤 생각 없이 난 너에게 전화했어 묻고 싶은 게 많아 I got so many questions